I'd like to call the Livingston County Board meeting of Thursday, June 15th to order at 6 p.m. We will have the invocation by Pastor Jam Ambrose, please.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father, we come to you tonight in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and your only begotten Son. In John 14:6, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Because we are believers in Christ Jesus and his work on the cross, dying for our sins, he is our destiny, the inevitable succession of events. You also have established, Father, a plan for this night for our county. We pray for the Holy Spirit's power to lead us into the way Jesus has already made for us. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Ambrose. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Seth Welch. Christy, could we have roll call, please?
Sure. Vietti.
Yes.
Haig.
Here.
Fair.
Present.
Manker.
Present.
Barrickman.
Here.
Ambrose.
Here.
Bannon.
Here.
Myers. Runyon.
Here.
Mays.
Here.
Beller. Here. Fitstum.
Here.
Blackard.
Here.
Ehring.
Here.
Welch.
Present.
Carly.
Present.
Lovell.
Here.
Ritter.
Present.
Thank you, Christy. We'll move down to E, approval of the agenda, and before I take a motion on that, I'm going to say that I've had some requests from the general public, our constituents, to move up public comment, so I'm going to move public comment to, which is item 6. This will cover all public comment. I'm going to move it to right after appearances, which is 3. We don't have any presentations or appearances, so it'll come actually then after the approval of the minutes. I do want to say a couple things about public comment. It's our standing rules that calls for a 3-minute time limit for an individual and overall 30-minute time frame for public comment. We can have public comment, that's great. We don't want testimony. We want public comment. I know emotions can run high on some of these issues, so I'll request that we do this with respect for everyone, and I want us to speak in a civil tone. On that basis, I'll ask for approval of the agenda based on that change of moving public comment.
Motion. So moved.
Moved by Ritter, second by Fannin. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. You should have a copy of the minutes from last meeting. I'll need a motion to accept. So moved by Ehring.
Second. By Fannin.
Second by Vietti. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's move down then to 4. We're going to move to public comment. I'm going to let Mr. Ehring speak first. He has requested to make a public comment here first. I'm going to let him speak, and then we'll go from there with whoever wants to speak.
I'd like to thank everybody that's gotten cards and phone calls from the passing of my mother. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to move up to the podium, if we have anybody who wants to speak in public comment, please come forward. You'll have your 3-minute time limit. Please state your name and address, if you would, please.
Jason Dixon, 201 Washington Street in Gray Mount. Thank you very much for moving the comments up. I appreciate that. Very generous of you. Just wanted to say, opposed to these solar farms, as some of you have read in my letter I sent, it's the redistribution of wealth of all the federal funds and or state funds going to this that's constitutionally illegal. You'd be engaged in illegal activity if someone's redistributing wealth in that manner. We keep hearing of more reports coming out of the dangers of these things. It just seems that more study needs to be done, investigated further, maybe before we dive into all these projects coming through. When I was at the ZBA meeting, the B-Ball project, as I understood, was the committee wanted to hear testimony about the historic site because there was a farm, old farmstead on there. I don't know if that was discovered or not, if they did anything with that. And then just hearing poor communication between these companies and going around to the surrounding neighbors and just trying to figure out how to go about these. In closing, just no, we're not actually voting against the landowner. As far as I'm aware, the landowners have entered into agreements and with these, and it's a step process, and you're actually just voting against the solar companies as to whether or not they're going to get their special use for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please state your name and address.
Yes, Julie Russo, 23301 North 1040 East Road in Cornell. I've been here before. I think most of you probably know, based also on the information I've sent, where I stand on these solar projects. That's why I'm here tonight. But one thing I just wanted to address that I've not brought up before is the process that you have in place to hear these cases, especially the Zoning Board of Appeals stage, when you have to provide exhibits, give sworn testimony, attest to the integrity of the material that's presented and all that. Have you ever given much thought to the fact that the corporation or the company has a clear advantage over the citizen? From beginning to end, it seems like the corporation has the upper hand. They typically have more resources in both funding and in people. Now you could say that the citizen has the same opportunity, yes, but the average citizen doesn't hire someone to conduct a real estate study. The average citizen doesn't know an environmental engineer. The average citizen doesn't work with consultants or college professors. The average citizen doesn't have the financial means to hire all of these people, sometimes not even an attorney. So you're elected by the average citizen. You're supposed to represent their interests and concerns that should be addressed, not dismissed. Their information should be reviewed and considered when these cases are decided, not ignored simply because the author of the material couldn't be contacted. I believe I sent a real estate study that was done by Mary McClinton Clay, and I had reached out to some of these people. Her office, when I checked online, was permanently closed. That could be for a number of reasons. Maybe she retired, sold the business, passed away. I'm not sure. But it's just not possible. So is that entire study just to be ignored because of that? The whole process doesn't seem quite right to me, and so it seems like it's too bad for the citizen. And do you really believe this is how the process should work? What you're doing every time, and just in my opinion, is placing the company in an obvious, undeniable, advantageous position over your constituents. It might be an unintended consequence, but it doesn't matter because I feel it's true. Thank you. That's all I have to say tonight. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Julie Fosdick, 14530 East, 1300 North Road, Pontiac. And I've been here before. I feel I'm going to kind of tag on what she said. Besides financial things and whatever, just the time commitment to these projects. is just like unbelievable. I feel like this project of the Allium solar farm, the project was not fully developed, and they had not done all their homework, and I feel like we've had to put so much time and energy into trying to get this thing to where it ought to be before it's really considered. I continue to be concerned about the vegetative management plan for the project, and the biggest concern about that is the fire danger. So now in the last 2 months, we've had Olympia High School solar panels catch on fire, and they had a pretty serious fire. And now last week, a solar farm near, on the other side of Peoria, the inverter caught fire, and the vegetation within that solar farm caught fire, and the fire department had to come and extinguish that. But I really am concerned for the fall of the year and when all the vegetation that's surrounding that is dry. I finally got a vegetative management plan of sorts from the company on Tuesday night, and the plan includes multiple mowing inside of the fence for the first few years, and that is necessary to get this vegetation established and not have it taken over by weeds. But about 6 years down the road, their plan is to only mow every 3 years. I find that totally unacceptable, because how are we going to control the fire risk there if this is only mowed every 3 years? And it will depend on the year, but a year when there's a lot of moisture, you're going to have lush growth, and then it's going to die off, in the fall, and you're just going to have a tinderbox. And if we get a field fire that could carry for miles. I have seen, in my years, I've seen some field fires carry several miles that they couldn't stop at a road. This is a concern for me. My residence is about a mile from this project. I'm also concerned whether outside of it is adequately mowed to prevent fire from spreading. As I've heard of many solar facilities, that they didn't really keep the outside mowed down and it grows tall weeds, but I'm also concerned about that fire risk if a fire starts inside. I was never really able to get any indication from them about what kind of equipment they could actually get in there to do this mowing with, and no one has ever really given me an answer to that. And I guess then another real concern I have is that it's really crucial that we as a county, and I appreciate that you guys have really tried hard to really pay attention to some of these things, but we have to look at the cumulative impact of this, and my neighborhood seems to be getting a disproportionate amount of these applied for in my neighborhood.
Julie, time is going to be up here.
Okay.
So
I'm just about done. And I'm getting information about more applications, but you're looking at, I'm going to have multiple ignition risks, like at least every mile there's one around the area where I live. This is a real concern. There's like at least 7 in our neighborhood proposed, and I look at those as 7 ignition risk sites.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State your name and address, please.
Andy Bowman, 16403 East, 1300 North Road, Pontiac. I kind of want to build on something Ms. Russo said about an unfair advantage to the citizens. When the Allium one that's coming up, I had opposed, I'm a drainage district commissioner in the area that this is proposed, Edwards Point Drainage District. And my issue with it from day one has been that there's a drainage issue in our drainage district. That's why we have a drainage district. I pointed out all the areas of replant in the area and how when we get a lot of water, it gets really backed up. And I've stayed home to this every time, but the problem is I can't even accurately come up with my problems with it because there was 9 or 10 things missing in the application from day one. I didn't agree with how this was allowed to be sent back to ZBA the first time. And one of those reasons I want to read from the bottom of the old ordinance, which it was submitted under. It reads, The county holds the right to require additional information as the county deems necessary to be part of the review of this plan. Is application requirements additional information or requirement information? Another thing I wanted to read, because I know I had reached out to a few of you just trying to get my problems out there so it was known. And one of the issues is the county's board role to be in charge of drainage. And I found in the Code of Ordinances, not the zoning code, but the Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Land Use, Planning and Utilities, Chapter 46, Flood Prevention and Control, Section 46-1, Purpose. The ordinance from which this chapter is derived is enacted pursuant to the police powers granted to the county by state law in order to accomplish the following purposes: to prevent unwise developments from increasing flood or drainage hazards to others, protect new buildings, major improvements from flood damage. And there's a few more, but that's the one that I wanted to hit home the most about. Is I proposed a drainage issue. I've looked at the information. There's a lot of things missing from the information that could show the issue better that wasn't in the application. Maybe on purpose, maybe not. I'm not going to go down that road. But my issue still has not been addressed. I have not, as a drainage district commissioner, I had said there's me and 2 others in the district, and we have not met or been asked to meet with any solar project to date. And I feel like I understand that if we show an issue, they need to address the issue and say how this won't affect this issue. And I feel like they haven't shown that. And I just want to make sure that each of you have at least know that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is William Whitney. I live at 28837 North 1500 East Road. I have spoken a few times on Lambert's B-Balm application. I presented to the ZBA, and I don't know how that process works. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. I presented a petition, 22 citizens opposed to B-Balm. I hope that found its way to you. If it didn't, then I think we need to have a deeper discussion. There are multiple reasons that I have presented and continue to argue against these. But as my neighbor, who I don't think is here tonight, Cliff, he's the closest homeowner to this proposed project. As he said at the last meeting, at the zoning commission meeting, it's about safety. It's about safety. The young lady who was just up a few moments ago mentioned the recent fire, and prior to that there was the fire over the school. There may well be a time and a place for these power plants. But we have to keep in mind volunteer fire departments. We have to keep in mind the technology needed to put these fires out. And if you haven't checked this out, you need to check out how difficult it is to put out these fires caused by solar, by EV, all this stuff. It's very, very difficult. I'm sure we've got great volunteer fire folks, but this is outside their pay range. Let's put it that way, okay? The Lambert's B-Balm, I would just like to state for public record, Regional Planning Commission voted no. Zoning Committee voted no. The ZBA voted yes. We didn't hear any discussion on that. It's kind of interesting. We presented for quite a while, and just magically it was a yes vote. What can I say? Wish I knew more of the reasons why. Maybe if I knew the reasons why, maybe I would be convinced of the meritoriousness of Lambert's B-Balm. But there's no discussion, so I can only speculate. Folks, I know you're my neighbors. I know you're in the battle just like I am, day in and day out. All right, just trying to do the best with the time given to us. As a governing body entrusted with the task of public safety, I'm begging you, soberly, heed our call. Again, there may be a time and a place for Lambert's B-Balm, for allium, for all these things. But when you look at the safety, when you look at how are they actually going to put these fires out? When you look at all the questions, not here, not now. No joking, no kidding. Soberly, I say to you, if something happens, do you want the blood on your hands? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Sure. Kia Whitney, 28837 North 1500 East Road in Blackstone. Okay, first I want to thank, I think his name is Dan, I can't figure, Dan Myers. I don't even know, okay, he's not here. I reached out to my district representatives, there's 6 of them, because I wanted them to hear me. I've been coming since January, and he's the only one who actually called me back or responded. It's terrible, okay? So that doesn't leave a good, that's a little unsettling. This whole, as it's already been stated, it seems as if the decision has already been made, okay? Many of you just seem to already know how you're going to vote. I wonder why we even go through this process if that is the case. All right, so please prove, okay, you represent the people, okay? Please reach out to the people, hear our voice. We have great concerns. In fact, quick little story. Today we are trying to get a little, we actually tried to get a solar powered pump for our well. Guess what the man said? The technology is not there. The technology is not there for we just have 10 acres, okay? One little pump for our water. It's not there. Why on earth are you gonna believe this company that's only been around for a year? Okay, why would we put our trust into them? So that's all I have to say. Let's be reasonable. Stop just passing these things through and think, okay? Continue to pray for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to our action agenda items. Committee reports. First, we'll deal with Ag and Zoning, Gerald Ayring, Chair. Oh, excuse me, we missed appointments. I apologize. And approval of bills. So, consent agenda first. So we need approval of the bills, appointment of Brian Pershnick to the Dwight Protection District and Chris Clement to the Pontiac Rural Fire Protection District. So moved by Lovell, second by Ayring. We will have a roll call vote, please. Christie.
Vieti.
Yes.
Haig.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Manker.
Yes.
Berkman. Ambrose.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Myers. Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Fitstum.
Yes.
Blackard.
Yes.
Ayring. Welch.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Now we'll move to our action agenda items. Committee report, Ag and Zoning Committee first, Gerald Ayring, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we've got 3 cases coming in front of us. They're all action cases, and we'll start with Mr. Bottom. You are up first with Allium Solar. They'll all be voted on separately.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come before the board. I have brought with me this evening some enlarged site plans of the Allium Solar Project that I'd like to pass out to each of you so you have a large plan in front of you when I'm speaking about it. As you're passing those out, I'll continue my presentation for the Allium Solar Project. As some of you know, and I've met many of you before, my name is Paul Bottom, and I am a representative of Cultivate Power. I am here to present Allium Solar as the first project this evening. I want to go right into the project itself. This is Allium Community Solar. And on this slide, you'll see there's a mention of the proximity. I want to talk about a little bit about our site selection process to give you a little bit more background about how we go about selecting our sites. There are 3 items that we really, at the beginning of the process, go through. They're very important in the process. It is the interconnection process, the zoning process, and the land origination process with the land partner. When we talk about proximity to relevant electrical and road infrastructure, the reason why the road infrastructure piece is important is because we need the road infrastructure near the project to allow for logistics and emergency vehicle access on an area where there is availability to build solar. When it comes to the interconnection, one of the things that we look for are sites that are close to the overhead transmission line or what's called a feeder line that has capacity that allows the project to transmit the energy to the distribution point, which is the substation. And we also need a substation that also has capacity available. And that is part of some of the challenges we face. When you look at the land itself and the topography of the land and the uplands, it's really important that we find land that has a limited slope and no wetlands. And in our diligence process, we do a lot of permitting for environmental, geotech, endangered species, and we acquire other permits in our diligence process. There are about 7 to 10 different surveys that we do. When it comes to the landowner, interest from our landowner, we look for landowners who are our partners. They're land partners with us. They're with us through this whole process the whole time. And those partners, it's important to have somebody who's a good communicator and engaged in the project to assure best outcomes. And then when we talk about current use and surrounding use, this proposed project is in the Ag District where solar is permitted as a special use. And then, of course, the Livingston County ordinances, which are also very important. We have a solar ordinance in Livingston County, as well as a process for special use permit approval. The Allium Solar Project is located at 15550 East 1300 North Road, and it's about 6 miles due south of Pontiac. This slide just shows a little bit of what we do as far as being in compliance with local, state, and federal regulations. And we are all of our projects are in compliance with those 3 categories. Now, over the next 4 or 5 slides is the information around the solar ordinance. We've discussed this many times, and if it's okay, I'm going to move into more about the project detail to move this forward a little quicker. This Allium project is on a 159-acre parcel, and it's a 32-acre project located off of East 1300 North Road near County Highway 10. This project utilizes a single-access gravel road, which is off of the East 1300 North Road. It has a gated entrance with an 8-foot fence surrounding the entire project and a Knox box for the emergency services. If you follow this access road, you could follow the access road to the equipment pads, where the equipment for the project, the inverters and transformers are centrally located. We have utility poles that we install working with ComEd to allow us to connect to the grid, and those you'll see off of the East 1300 North Road. This project has, on the quarter section itself, the Waldschmidt family has a 1-acre homestead up in the northeast corner, and they are the closest to this project. The Bauman family is located across to the east in the next quarter section across Highway 10. And then to the west of the project, Richard Hyatt owns the quarter section on that side, and I've spoken to Mr. Hyatt, and he is in favor of the project. At this point, I want to address, I know there are some concerns about the effort we've made to reach into the community and to engage with the neighbors and to really address some of the concerns and share the information about the project. And in the first step of that process, we send out letters to notify the landowners along with the public notice. A personal letter goes out and talks a little bit about the project. It shows the project layout, and it gives some information, and if there's any questions, we ask that we try to communicate with phone calls, because sometimes we don't always have the phone numbers to contact everybody. I have come to this community to speak with the neighbors abutting this project on 4 to 5 different occasions, all the way back to December and all the way through a number of times in March, April, and May. I have come on Tuesdays, I've been here on Thursdays, and I really just realized that being here on Saturdays has provided the best opportunity to speak with the neighbors, and I've been out here 2 or 3 Saturdays discussing this project. Among the people I've spoken with are Mr. Waldschmidt, Mr. Bauman, Julie Fosdick, and Mr. Richard Hyatt. And here are the concerns we've discussed. We've talked about drain tiles, water table, the project view, a vegetation plan, operations and safety maintenance. And this is what we have done to address those concerns. We have completed a drain tile survey. We will perform a wetland delineation as part of our permitting process. We've shared a vegetation plan outlining our process for planting and managing vegetation. And one of the things I want to mention is I think this project, when it was mentioned that we would come out and mow the project every 3 years, it's not the case. It's really subject to our vegetation experts who work with our O&M partner, and they are the ones who are constantly on top of making sure that this project has its vegetation manicured and landscaped regularly, and they address any concerns from the community as well. We've also shared an emergency preliminary services plan with the Pontiac Fire Department. And I've spoken with Chief Jacob Campbell in regard to this, and we are continuing the discussion. And of course, we remain open to any consideration from the board as well. This slide is a bit of information about the tax revenue from the Allium project. The first year it's $4,700, and with the solar farm, it is a $34,000 revenue. With a lifetime revenue of $651,000. This benefits all the high school, the road district, and Pontiac Fire and other municipalities in the township. On this slide here, it talks about agricultural preservation. I just want to touch on that the Allium project does have an executed agreement with the Illinois Department of Agriculture for the Agriculture Impact Mitigation Agreement, and that really sets the standards for construction and deconstruction. We've talked about this slide quite a bit in the zoning board, and here it is again, and this is a drain tile survey that was completed that will be shown on the construction and deconstruction plans, and this will be utilized in the final engineering process and will be shared with the Illinois Department of Agriculture and the Soil and Water Conservation District. We will work around the existing tiles and repair and replace where necessary. Now, well, on this slide here is a slide about the solar farm's decommissioning. And the Allium project will go through deconstruction within 12 months of final operation. It will remove all structures and foundations. It will restore the soil and vegetation. This project will have a review every 5 years, and an updated deconstruction plan will be provided at the end of the 10th year. When we were at the zoning board, there was some consideration and concern about when we talked about the decommissioning estimate that we put forth. So based on the zoning board's recommendation, we have contracted with a third-party engineering firm for a second opinion. And we have supplied that decommissioning plan, which is really a robust plan. It's 20 pages, It covers engineering techniques, the decommissioning process, best management practices, permitting, timeline, and costing. And that plan came in at around $420,000 for the deconstructed cost. We're willing to submit this plan as a second opinion decommissioning plan to the county, and we were willing to increase the bond to the higher amount. I do want to talk a little more about my conversation. I know that safety and concern about fires has been talked about quite a bit. In my speaking with Pontiac Fire Chief Jacob Campbell, we shared the emergency service plan. The couple of things that came to his mind right away were in regard to making sure the project had a Knox box for emergency services, but he also mentioned that he would like to get his personnel trained up and get some formal training to help his fire department personnel, and we are committed to being a part of that. And I think that's a very important part of this for the safety aspect and the safety concerns. At this point, I'd like to hand over the microphone to Nick.
So I'm Nick Standiford. I'm at a law firm called Chin Banks. I've been with Cultivate now. This is our fourth, fifth, sixth hearing out here in Livingston County for this project, as well as the B-Bomb project. So we've been at every level of the Regional Plan Commission. We've been at the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've been at the Zoning Committee. We've been back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've been to the County Board already. And so we've had a lot of good feedback and input. And as a result, you've seen that we've developed a vegetative plan, emergency services plan, agricultural impact mitigation agreement, drain tile surveys, 2 decommissioning estimates. We've answered all the questions at the Zoning Board of Appeals and received unanimous recommendations that affirmed that we met all the standards in the Livingston County zoning ordinance. Yes, there have been people who, there have been some people, as you've heard from tonight, who aren't happy with the projects, but you can't make everyone happy. And Cultivate's made an effort to try to meet some of their concerns and hear them and listen to them. As Paul's been out to the site several times, to the neighborhood several times. The zoning board also heard all of their arguments and determined that this project met the standards. And this is a low impact use. It's quiet. It's not too tall. It's and I think the thing to leave you with is that some people aren't happy, but the greater good as a whole benefits from this. And in terms of having to save money on their energy bills, to generate new energy sources, to get ourselves off of coal and other power sources, and to create jobs and to bring tax revenue into the community. So there's a lot of benefits to solar, and we believe that the zoning board agreed with us, and we ask for the board to approve this project tonight. Thank you.
Questions from the committee?
I have a quick question. On this map that you supplied, which one of these is the landowner's home?
On this property, the landowner does not live on that property.
Okay, so these two on the map, this is a home?
Yes.
And this is a home?
Yes.
Neither are the landowner's home?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Ritter?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that you submitted a drainage map, but it sounded like to me that there was questions of whether or not proper drainage was taking place or going to take place should we get excessive amounts of rain. How is that accounted for with that?
So the engineers at the Zoning Board of Appeals testified that the drainage concerns, if there were any, would actually be alleviated by the pollinator species and the tall grasses that would replace the farming that was done on the site. So it's not going to make drainage, they testified that it's not going to make drainage worse. It'll probably make drainage better. We also noted that neither of the two other the drainage commissioners objected to the project. I know this specific drainage commissioner We provided him with the drain tile survey, walked him through it, and I believe we answered all of his questions. He had some older maps from the 80s that he provided, but I don't think it impacted what we were proposing. And I think that I think there was also testimony that this is just a study. There's going to be another study done when you go out to the site to determine exactly where the drain tiles are. Exactly. And at that point, they're going to avoid any drain tiles and replace any if there are any that are hit. So there's 2 levels of review here, and to make sure that the drain tiles won't be impacted.
So with that, should there be noted that there is a drainage issue, what is going to be done to mitigate that?
Well, so I think the testimony was that it's going to improve drainage, so there wouldn't be a drainage issue.
But you have another level of study that's going to take place.
That's to identify where the drain tiles are. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Nico Galtu. I'm one of the founding team members at Cultivate Power, and I'm happy to answer your question if that's okay. So actually what happens is there's the first drain tile survey that happens initially to make sure that the site isn't infested with drain tile, right? When a site is infested with drain tile, that means that it's going to be very costly for us to build because we're going to have to reroute it out of the drain tile, right? And you've seen it on the map, there's very little drain tile there. That's just the first piece. I think your question was specifically asking about drainage, right? Which is a different issue than just the drain tiles, right? And what we do for drainage is threefold. Number one, we have some preliminary engineering based off of the drain tile survey that we do. We design the site around the drain tile. And then second, we have an ALTA survey that takes topography and sees how the water runs off across the site. And then 3, prior to construction, there's a pre-construction engineering plan that determines the need for what you call drainage ponds, if necessary. If they evaluate that the drainage levels are too important, there's drainage ponds that will capture that drainage. So we haven't seen issues with our solar farms when there's pollinator seeding on the bottom of the panels because it retains a lot of the water. But there are certain instances where your topography is pretty steep, and we put those ponds in to make sure that it won't overflow into the neighbor's property. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about that. It's just when you have higher grasses than a farm, it retains water a lot more, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. But the other thing is that solar panels were considered impervious surfaces. So they basically just let the water run as it would normally run without the panels in there because of row spacing and the size of the panels. So there are instances, however, in more hilly states like Massachusetts or the Northeast where drainage and runoff really becomes an issue and the ponds are a lot bigger.
Any more questions? Okay, motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve. I need a second. Second by Haig. Christie, roll call, please.
Hold on. So she called for discussion.
We just did discussion.
Are you finished with discussion?
They said nobody had any more questions.
Oh, okay.
No questions, but
I don't care. Anybody got any guys? Discussion then. Go ahead.
I just want to say, having attended the ZBA hearings, the RPC hearing, I think there was only one, and ag zoning, I've heard this particular case several times. I've also heard the objectors. There were many objectors. They were informed objectors. I'm going to vote no for this project because I was not convinced that all of the concerns that were given by the objectors have been satisfied. Thank you.
Moore?
Yes. I just want to remind the board that when we're voting on solar or wind or anything else, we have to look at our ordinance and the criteria of the ordinance. We have to see if the applicants are meeting that criteria. Unfortunately, in a way, we don't have a term I'm going to use as the good neighbor policy in the ordinance. So I think it's wise that there's communication between the neighbors and the solar company. I think it's very wise that they try and work some situations out on each side of the fence. Sometimes that's probably not feasible, unfortunately. Other times it probably is, but I think dialogue is important, so I would recommend that that be the way that companies approach it, not to ask us as a board what we need, what they need to do to satisfy the neighbors. They need to talk to the neighbors. So just remember, though, when we're voting on this, unfortunately, it's not necessarily how somebody feels, even though there are constituents. It's, do they meet the criteria of the ordinance? That's my opinion on this. I think that is correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. And speaking on that, we're a legislative body, and if it's as simple as if all the boxes are checked and that we have to vote yes, then what's the point of even talking about it and voting for it? If you check all the boxes and we have to vote yes, then what's the point? We're a legislative body, and part of the legislative body is representing the people, and we have to take that into account. It's a weighing. You have to weigh this versus that. It's not an automatic, in my opinion. Just because all the boxes are checked doesn't mean it's an automatic yes, and we shouldn't have to say that we have. Because I've heard many of my former, or my board members say, well, I guess I have to vote for it. No, you don't. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to say that I guess I'm new on the board, but I've been involved with this one since the beginning. And it came before one of my first committee meetings, and I did believe that they did not have their stuff together, and I did vote against this project. But I believe over the last couple of months, they have answered a lot of the questions and concerns of the neighbors. I believe they have actually followed through with a lot of what was needed to meet the ordinance, and I will be voting yes.
And I guess I can add to this too. You know, there has been conversations with different counties about actually changing this where it doesn't have to be voted on. It just goes in. If they meet the criteria, it's done. But we don't have to go through all these meetings and stuff. So there, people have to keep that in mind. And that's all I have to say. Anybody else got anything? Roll call, Christie, please.
Fietti,
Yes.
Hegg,
Yes.
Fair,
No.
Manker,
No.
Barrickman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
No.
Bannon,
No.
Runyon,
No.
Mays,
No.
Weller,
Yes.
Bitstam,
No.
Blackard,
No.
Herring,
Yes.
Welch,
No.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter,
No.
seven ayes, 10 nays.
Okay, next case, SU 1522. Paul Vaughn, your case, it's the B-bomb sold.
It's okay, I could pass these out again the same way. By going on the end. Ms. Ambrose, if you would pass these through, thank you. For this presentation, I will present B-Bomb Solar. Thank you for the opportunity to come before the board. I'm going to move into the same slide, which is more detailed about the site of B-Bomb Solar. When you look at this site, and we talk about the same road and electrical infrastructure, this site does have infrastructure right along the northwest corner of the project for logistics and emergency services. This site also has transmission interconnection. We look for sites close to transmission lines with capacity, connecting to substations with capacity, and this project does have an interconnection agreement with ComEd, completed and executed. On this site, there were some concerns brought up at the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I want to talk a little bit more about our diligence process. In addition to the environmental and geotech, we do a state historical preservation survey and an architectural survey and an endangered species and national wildlife survey. And if you look at the location of the site on the quarter section where it is ideal for solar. It's part of a quarter section separated by a riverine, and it's not productive farmland based on what the owner has said and what we heard from Soil and Water. It has limited slope and it has no wetlands. And in this case, when you talk about the landowner, we do have a landowner who is a great partner and great with the communication, and that landowner is here tonight in support of the project. Again, we look for current use and surrounding uses. The site is proposed as an ag district where solar is permitted as special use, and Livingston County has a solar ordinance and a special use permit approval process. This project is located at 27900 North 1500 East Road, about 11 miles north of Pontiac. This project is also in full compliance with local, state, and federal regulatory codes. I'm going to go to the same detailed project location. I want to talk a little bit about this project has a single-access gravel road off of East 2800 North Road. That is our access point for this project. It also has a gated entrance for safety. It's an 8-foot fence that surrounds the project. It has a Knox box for emergency services. Again, the inverter pads are centrally located on this project. The majority of this project is the single-access tracker panels. Utility poles will be installed in the northwest corner by ComEd, which gives us the ability to connect to the capacity available on the grid. North of this project is the Ralph family property and Mrs. Tony Ryder homestead. They are directly north, and you could see in your drawing in front of you, there's a home up on about the middle to the right, and then that whole quarter section. Mr. Ralph was interested in leasing his land for solar. He's in favor of the project. Mrs. Ryder, she emailed me. She's in favor of the project as well. The other thing I'd mention is that the garden home is across the street to the west. The Whitney homestead is north about 3/4 mile. Mr. and Mrs. Whitney live about 3/4 mile north across Route 170. I want to talk a little bit again about the community outreach. I understood the importance of it. Early on in this process, I tried to really make sure I was engaged in the community and addressing the concerns of the individuals at the hearings. I've been in this community for this project about 5 to 6 different occasions, Tuesdays, Thursdays, a Friday, and a few Saturdays. Among the people I've spoken with on this project is Cliff Glarden and William and Kia Whitney, Gene Strohecker, Michael Ralph, Tony Ryder, and Mr. Davis. The concerns we have discussed when I met with those homeowners: wildlife conservation, the view of the project, fire safety, EMF, electromagnetic frequency, and safety and operations and maintenance. And this is what we've done to address those concerns in regard to this project. We have completed an EcoCat habitat survey, and we will obtain a permit from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife as part of our process. With Mr. Glard's concern across the street, we are adding a vegetation buffer. And you can see that on the project area on the screen in front of you that it's been added. And we'll increase the height to 6 feet at planning because his concern was having high enough so he didn't have to see the project. But the most important concern Mr. Glarden had, being the closest neighbor who's right across the street about 400 feet, was the safety and the emergency services concern. And he owns a horse farm across the street. And to address those concerns, we had Mr. Glarden's phone number added as an emergency contact on the emergency services plan filed or shared with the Odell Fire Prevention District. And this emergency services plan will also be part of our operations and maintenance contract. Mrs. Whitney has expressed concern about EMF, and I did look into this. The inverters do have filters. Those filters are used to keep debris and dust out so it doesn't affect the winding motor and cause problems. This project has equipment pads centrally located, and the inverter emit limited EMF. It's similar to a microwave, similar to your phone. We have not seen any negative impact from our other solar developments in this regard. This project brings tax revenue to the community. Right now with Agland, $2,900. In the first year for solar, it's $39,000. And over the life of the project, $743,000 to the county for the community. High school, fire district, park district, other municipal entities. Again, this project has an executed agriculture impact mitigation agreement. We will abide by the standards for construction and deconstruction. We also completed a drain tile survey because we understood the importance to the community. That drain tile survey will be shared, and as we talked about, before pre-construction, we'll map out the drain tiles to ensure that they're understood where they're at. This will be utilized in the final engineering process and will be shared with the Illinois Department of Agriculture and the Soil and Water. And we will work around the existing drain tiles and repair and replace when necessary. This is the decommissioning slide. Again, deconstruction within 12 months after final operation. Removal of all racking systems, equipment, materials buried 5 feet or less. Remove all the wires, cables, everything that's there, the access road. We've also supplied an additional decommissioning estimate for this project, which is really a robust plan, and that plan covers, the engineering techniques that are used, the decommissioning process, best management, permitting, timeline, and costing. Excuse me. And this project's decommissioning plan came in on the second opinion at $430,000, and we're willing to put up a decommissioning bond for that amount. This plan can be reviewed. It will be reviewed every 5 years, and it will be the updated deconstruction plan will be provided at the end of the 10th year in accordance with the AIMA standards that we've executed. I just want to add a little bit more information about us as a firm. We're committed to the county and state. Illinois, under their CEJA legislation, has created 16 different workforce development centers. We are partnering with that Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity on the workforce development and the job training to support individuals and create jobs in the community. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Nick.
So I think it's important to, County Board Member, is it Fannin?
Yes.
So I think your point about being a legislative body, and that's true. This board is a legislative body, and it passes laws. And one of the laws that the board passed was that solar farms are conditional, special use in agricultural zoning districts. And this applicant has checked the boxes, like you said. Mm-hmm. It checked all the application requirement boxes. It checked all the design standard boxes. And as part of the special use, there's some standards that have to be complied with. The Zoning Board of Appeals looked at those standards, and you have to, and that's what board member, I think Carly was talking about, is there's certain criteria. And while you're a legislative body, you have to follow the criteria. And in this case, I think the applicant would request that, you know, if the vote is going to be, if there happens to be a vote again on this, that some reasoning behind why the vote is taking place, why the decision is being made to vote against the project, because, and why this project doesn't meet the special use standards, which are that it's in compliance with the county's comprehensive plan, that it's not detrimental, it won't endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. It's located in a zoning district where such use is permitted. So this is a conditional use in the agricultural district, so that meets that standard. It's not injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity for the uses already permitted, or substantially reduce the neighboring property. It won't impede the orderly growth, development, or improvement of surrounding properties for those uses in the zoning district. It's provided with adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and necessary facilities. And it's provided with ingress that's designed to minimize traffic congestion. So we went through all those standards at the zoning board, and we heard everything. We heard that the panels are made in China. We heard that the panels are going to catch on fire and kill all of Mr. Glardin's, or smoke out all of Mr. Glardin's horses. We heard that like we said, there's electromagnetic waves that, you know, can kill cows. We've heard that before, but we went step by step and addressed all that. And we showed that, and Paul has a slide showing the property and the impact on the larger community in terms of the revenue that the county gets from projects like this. So, and we talked about the roads being restored after the project's over. We talked about the jobs that are going to come to the county. We talked about the investment that's going to come to the county. We talked about all the actions we took to try to make the neighbors a little happier. And Mr. Glardin, we added him to the emergency services plan, that if the panels stopped functioning correctly due to a fire or something, he would get called. He was on the list. We added trees all down if you want to show the property photo here, we added trees all down the western portion so he wouldn't be able to see the fence. He said, I don't want to see, you know, the trees are too short. 6-foot trees are going to be too short. So we made 8-foot trees. You know, we went and tried to do everything we possibly could to make him a little happier about this. And he said, you know, there's nothing you're ever going to convince me of. You just can't convince me of it. But what I tried to leave him with is, it's not just you. It's everybody. And it's all the standards in the county's code that this project has been determined to have met by the zoning board, who we were here late into the night several times. I've been to Wally's at 11 in the evening about every single time, getting gas and a beef brisket sandwich. So, you know, it seems like there's been 13 projects, solar projects, already approved in the county. I don't see how this one is any different from any of them. So we'd ask for you to vote for this project, and we'd ask for you to reconsider your vote as to the Allium project.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Haig. I'll second it, Gary. Discussion. Anybody? Roll call, Christie.
Vietti.
Yes.
Haig.
Yes.
Fair.
No.
Manker.
No.
Barrickman.
No.
Ambrose.
No.
Bannon.
No.
Runyon.
No.
Mays.
No.
Weller. Bidston.
Yes.
Blackard.
No.
No.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
No.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter,
No.
7 ayes and 10 nays. Motion fails.
All right, thank you. Okay, we got a text amendment. Jesse, could I get you to explain this, please, to everybody? Case ZT 523, text amendment on camping facilities.
Okay, so this is zoning case ZT 523. It's a request to change the definition of a camping facility in our county ordinance. Just the definition. We don't have an ordinance on camping facilities in general. All we have is a definition. So the purpose of this text amendment is just to change the definition of what constitutes a camping facility in the county. So currently, which it should be in your packets, there should be something that shows what our current ordinance says versus what is being proposed. And what is being proposed is less restrictive than what our current ordinance says. So our current ordinance simply defines a camping facility essentially as 2 or more camping apparatuses, if you will, which is campers, RVs, anything that you can camp in, cabins, all that. 2 or more camping apparatuses that are used for camping. And it doesn't say how many days in the year they have to be used or anything like that. And it's really vague, which makes it strict by nature. So therefore, the way our current ordinance reads, essentially, for instance, if you have a family reunion every year and you have a few family members that bring in a camper to camp in the backyard of your house, and let's say your neighbor doesn't like it and he wants to challenge that, technically that you would have to have a special use approved by the county for a camping facility for a family reunion that you have every year. So what I was thinking when proposing this definition change was to align our county ordinance with the state definition of what a campground is, which allows for, I think it's 5, up to 5, or no, sorry, it's 6. I'm all turned around here. It's 3 or more. So the state definition, the threshold is 3 or more tents, camping apparatuses that are in use for 10 or more persons for 6 or more camping days during a calendar year. So it allows up to 5 calendar days in a calendar year for there to be camping for 10 people, for 10 or more people, without having to have a special use approval through the county. So it's just making it less restrictive for people in the county to be able to do, something that they maybe do every year as like a tradition type of thing without having to register as a campground is all it is.
Thank you, Jesse. That being said, is there a motion to approve? By Ritter, by Gina. Discussion. Any questions for Jesse or anything? Roll call, please.
Vieti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Merrickman,
Abstain?
Ambrose,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Weller, Pittston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes?
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ehring. We'll move to Highway Committee. Steve Lovell, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Clay's coming up to the microphone, and we've got, looks like about 3 items on there tonight. So, Clay, if you want to walk through them quickly, or
That's fine.
however long it takes. Yeah.
The first item is the letting results. We had a letting on June 1st. As you can see from the concurrent award, we had several AS sections, which are where we're upgrading some township roads by adding aggregate to them. And we had 4 of those on the concurrent award in various townships. We also had a SM section, which is a special maintenance where we're going to do overlay some bridges on County Highway 8, or the Acquoyer Road. And the last item on the list was a joint box culvert with LaSalle County, and it is located in Newtown Township. And that project came in at the price that's listed. So, and along with the special maintenance section, there's a resolution appropriating money out of matching tax funds for that project, for the letting results. Next items are a couple of bridge petitions. Odell and Nevada Road District, it's on the township line. We were going to utilize Hutchison Engineering. This is for a federal bridge program, FY27. The second petition is in Nebraska Road District, and also with Hutchison Engineering and federal program for FY27.
Anybody got any questions on any of the items from Highway? I'll make a motion to pass all of them in one shot.
Motion by Lovell, second by Weller. Christie.
Vieti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Berkman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Weller,
Yep.
Fidston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Thank you, Clay. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Runyon for conducting the highway meeting while I was gone catching all them big fish. That concludes my report. Okay, I'm lying. I didn't catch any fish.
It's a fish story.
Okay.
Fish
Thank you.
stories. Fish stories.
Thank you, Chairman Lovell. We'll now move to the Finance Committee. Marty Fandon, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 3 resolutions for you tonight. The first one is a budget transfer of the bookkeeping from Christie's budget to Diane's budget.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ritter,
I'll second that motion.
second by Manker. Roll call.
Vieti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Berkman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Bannon,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Weller, Fidston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Okay. And we have a resolution authorizing a grant to Children's Advocacy Center. Alina, do you want to talk on that, or you want me to go ahead and?
It's actually one resolution authorizing both the grant for the Children's Advocacy Center and the
And for the-
amendment to the mutual
Okay.
aid agreement with an extension. So the county had some funds that were originally allocated to other entities that were not expended at the end of the grant term, which was December 31st, 2022. So those, and they did not request extension of those funds. Those funds came back, and there is now a need by these 2 organizations for these funds as outlined, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. So these are on one resolution, so I'd entertain a motion for,
So moved.
motion by Earring, second by Ritter. Discussion? Christie?
Vieti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Berkman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fannin,
Yes.
Runyon,
No.
Mays,
Present.
Weller. Pittston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we're knee-deep in budget and taking care of those issues. And just an FYI, we talked about the great job that our finance department did and won an award. Well, I saw the award, and we'll have it at finance next month. And it's a nice marble, beautiful award. So here again, kudos to Diane and her department. Not just Diane, but her whole department and the administrative team. So thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Fannin. We'll now move to Public Property Committee. John Vidstem, Chair.
We have we met with Intech working in the hot water system out at the jail. They came up with 2 proposals to us. I guess we need a motion to carry on with them to come up with a dollars and cents for us. And maybe you can explain that a little bit better, Lena, but that's it in a small package.
So the proposal itself is for the design of the overall project. There are a couple options for the committee to consider, but NTEC will work with them on making a recommendation on what they should move forward with. They will design the scope of the work itself and assist the county with the bidding process of releasing the RFP on behalf of the county and meeting our bidding requirements.
So, any other questions on that? I'll make a motion to move forward with that. Second by Vietti. Any discussion? Roll call, Christie.
Vietti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Berkman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fannin,
Yes.
Runyon,
No.
Mays,
No.
Weller. Pittston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
15 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent. Passed.
The only other thing I have in my report is they are moving along at the parking lot, phase 2 on the new health building. Haven't had no rainouts, which I wish we would get some. But outside of that, I can't think of anything else. Can you, Alina? Okay, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Vidstem. We'll now move to Rules, Legislation, Veterans Committee, Service Committee. Jack Vietti, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. We got one action item. We're moving, Christie came with a motion to move the Precinct 4 from Grace Episcopal Church to the new Public Health Building, and that was approved by my committee, so I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ready? Vietti,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Manker,
Yes.
Berkman,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fannin,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays, Weller,
Yes.
Pittston,
Yes.
Blackard,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Vietti. We'll move to the Admin Committee. We have set up a strategic plan for 2023-24, put lots of thought into it. We got the plan and the goals, and we'll need a voice vote on that. Does anybody have any questions before we, at least I'll make well, we're just gonna make a motion for voice vote. Does anybody have any questions on it? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. You need a motion and a second.
Okay, let's have a motion first. Motion by Lovell.
I will second.
Second by Welch. Okay, now all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lastly, I'd just like to thank everybody for the respectfulness that we approached things this evening. I know there's a lot of feelings, and I'd just like to thank the general public as well as the board for the way it was handled, and I appreciate that. So that concludes my report. I'll move to Sheriff, Jail, and License Committee. Bob Weller, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Sheriff, Jail, and License Committee met as scheduled. The sheriff gave his usual monthly department report, animal control, proactive. And Superintendent Draper gave the housing report for the jail. Everything is running pretty steady at the same levels there at the jail. Quite a bit of the meeting was taken up with a discussion and after a presentation by a representative of a body scan company representative. And that would conclude my report, because obviously we took no action on that yet. So that's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Weller. Let's move to Information Technology Committee. Gina Manker, Chair.
Yes, we met last week on Wednesday. First thing we went over was the Law and Justice Center outstanding issues that we were notified about. We needed some more cameras, working cameras in the building, and we had 5 here, so those were installed. And we noted that 6 cameras that are still down, we'd replace each one as needed for safety. And then we discussed adding to our IT department, because technology just has taken over every part of our duties and our offices and our jobs, that one full-time man cannot do that. So we're looking into hiring another full-time IT person and budgeting at the midpoint of the appropriate P classification. Virtual server were ordered, and John Sear stated that he is planning to move Spillman over on September 18th of this year, but the system may be down for a little bit while that is being done. The jail door system is being replaced, and it's projected to be installed at the end of the summer. And I think there was some bids for upgrading the courtrooms. Bennett Technologies came in as the lowest proposal, including hardware, and that'll be ongoing too then. But the equipment itself with Bennett is back ordered, so we will be waiting several months. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Manker. We have no executive session. Before we move to the adjournment, I'd just like to remind everybody our next meeting is Thursday, July 20th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in this room. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Fannin, second by Becca Fair. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side.